my name is Keslin. This is my final project for my Bachelor's of Nursing. I'm going to start by introducing myself. So, I'm Keslin. I have been a registered nurse for a year, so I'm still considered a new grad. I am a labor and delivery nurse. I have been at the hospital that I currently am at for 3 years. I was lucky enough to get a job as a scrub tech with zero experience whatsoever, and I am so happy that I did because I have fell in love with labor and delivery. I'm so happy with the position that I'm currently in. Now, for this project, I wanted to make a change with our fetal demise program. So when I first became a labor and delivery nurse, I had a fetal demise pretty soon after I had graduated and have been on my own, and that experience completely changed me forever. I've had a lot of fetal demises since then, unfortunately, but I am happy to be the nurse that is comfortable caring for them. That way I can give them support. So they're completely heartbreaking. They're such a hard thing to go through, but one of the fetal demises that I had completely changed me forever. The family, they sent me flowers a week after baby's passing, and it just meant the world to me. So this project has shoved me to take on our fetal demise program and be more involved with fetal demises so I can make a bigger difference. So for my project, I wanted to create an easier way for all the paperwork, and I wanted to gather more resources and supplies for our babies. Our fetal demise is paperwork and all of the things for it hasn't been updated since our hospital opened, and our mortuary list was from 2013. So super old. Every time we had a fetal demise, it was such a headache knowing what paperwork to give the parents, and sometimes we would just give them all the paperwork, and that's a lot of papers to fill out, and we didn't end up needing half of them. Sometimes if we didn't give them all the paperwork, the parents would be called a week later to come and fill out paperwork, which is so difficult for them when they are trying to grieve and get over the loss that they have recently experienced. So what I did is I had made a guide for each circumstance for the fetal demises. So depending on if baby's born out with a heartbeat or not will depend on what paperwork they have, and then what age of life depends on what paperwork they had. So I made a guide for each different category. Then I had created a folder with all required paperwork. So you would just go and you would look into our box and you would find the circumstance folder, and then you would grab that out and it would have everything that you needed, including footprints, bands, required paperwork, a mortuary list, a support group information, anything that the nurse might need. And then I called mortuaries and I got an updated mortuary list, and I received all the others. A lot of the time they will offer free cremation, or sometimes some of the mortuaries donated plots for the babies. And the last thing that I did is I gathered all needed supplies and organized donations for our fetalists. Some goals that I had with this project: I wanted to increase my knowledge of managing a project and managing a process. And throughout my bachelor's program, I have learned so much about managing, ethics, communication, organization, and I used all of this information that I have gained in my bachelor's to apply it to my project. So I was able to manage a project with help from my mentor, and I was able to create this new system for fetal demises. That picture listed, that is the box of our fetal demises. It's the old box. I do hope to update that box and do a little bit of a nicer box, but inside that is where I have all of the different paperworks, all the original copies, and where I kept each different circumstances with inside the folders. So analysis of my project. So the environment that I did it was in my hospital in labor and delivery. Some adjustments that I had to make is I had to watch for due dates. This was super tricky, being a nurse and managing a project at the same time and having them be completely separate. But I made that work, and then I had to coordinate when to work with my mentor, and I had to go around her schedule and her work schedule. I'm thankful that she was really easy to work with. Something else that I had a hard time with was when I would call all the different mortuaries, it was hard to get a response. So sometimes I would have to call back a couple days later, or I would have to wait for their manager to call me back. I had to call a whole bunch of different people, and I was just dealing with a lot of people's different guidelines. That's why I feel like it was a little bit more difficult, but I got all of my stuff done in a very timely manner. Working with my preceptor, so some things that I was looking at when I was considering what preceptor to use is that they absolutely had to be a labor and delivery nurse, and I wanted them to be experienced with fetal demises. I also wanted someone that would help me be able to manage my project. So the preceptor that I chose, her name is Melissa. She is actually the supervisor of labor and delivery. She has been a labor and delivery nurse for, I think she said 8 years. She has managed so many projects. She is a bachelor. She has finished her bachelor's of nursing as well and is looking to continue on and get her nurse practitioner. So I completed 90 hours for my project through all of the different things that I did, information that I typed up, creating new documents, working with other people, calling different mortuaries. I did a total of 90 hours. My supervisor, she was such a great resource. Because she is a supervisor, she has to make so many different documents and things for our unit. So she was super great to help me word all the different wording and make a good, easy layout for all the documents that I had created. She also helped keep me on my deadlines and made sure that I was staying up to date with my projects. She had taught me that this is a really nice project, and as you get further and further in your nursing career, you will have bigger and bigger and bigger projects and more people that are waiting for you to finish your deadline. So she taught me so much about managing a project. She also taught me some really good information about how to care for a fetal demise and what things that you can do for baby and things that you can do for the mother to help the process a little bit more. Here are just different documents that I included just to prove that I had been working with my preceptor and that I had completed the hours. There is a document of all my hours, and then I rated my professor, and then she rated me. So one of the things that I really was focusing on was postpartum depression. So many mothers have postpartum depression with a normal delivery, and one of the things that I was very worried about with fetal demises is how increased their risk of postpartum depression was. So one of the things that I had done in my project is I reached out to our support group, and I made sure that they were aware. And this group, it's a bunch of, they're called Share Parents of Utah, and they have all experienced their own fetal demises, and they have a share group that they will go, and it's just like a support group. So a whole bunch of moms, they'll go and they'll talk about what they're going through. So I made sure to include their pamphlet in each of my packets. This group also will come and they'll do footprints and sometimes foot and handprint molds. So I'm super grateful that this group is going to continue to work with us. This group has been to our hospital in the past, but now I have created more papers and things to make sure that this group is called every time there is a fetal demise, just for support for that mother. Evaluation. Some of the goals that I had achieved was I had updated all the required paperwork. I created a guide for all the paperwork, and I created an easier process for fetal demises and understanding what paperwork you need to gather. Why this is so important is because the nurse, rather than stressing about the paperwork, can be there and be of support to the family, and they can focus on that. And then there's only the required documents that the parents have to sign. That way they don't have to spend a really long time filling out documents that aren't needed. Evaluation for my project continued, so this benefited my growth because this has encouraged me to take on this project. I had actually spoke with my manager and I mentioned to her that I want to take on this project now. This is something that I am passionate about and I hope to continue to keep it updated, and I want to continue to find people to donate. I've actually worked with my preceptor. She helped me make dresses and things for the fetal demises. I learned so much about managing a project, working with others, ensuring all paperwork is current, creating documents, organizing paperwork, and creating a system. In conclusion, I really felt that this project was successful. Some of the nurses that had used my folders for a fetal demise said that it was so nice and they were so grateful that we have a new system created to make it easier for them. How this is going to influence students' future is it will influence my future because it has shown me how to manage a project. It can influence other people's futures because they will see this system that I have made, and hopefully it influences them to make a system as well. And then this last slide, this is some of the things that I have created for the fetal demises. The first one, it's kind of just a wrap to put baby in, and that is the same with the second one, and the third one is a little baby girl dress. So they're not completed, but I hope to continue this in the future. I am overwhelmed and so happy with all the donations that we received. We received many hats, many blankets, and a lot of different things for these little babies. I am so grateful with this project, and I hope this will influence some more people to be more involved in something in their workplace. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.